Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, authorities impose a no-swimming order in Manila Bay.
The water itself is not yet clean because it still contains the fecal coliform.
With the Environment Department saying it will fence off some of its area.
Mababa lang naman yung fence, makikita pa rin yung sunset, makikita pa rin yung dagat.
Also, more Manila Bay polluters face closure.
Meron po kayo mga dapat yung ngayon, gawin nyo na po ngayon. Huwag yun na pong hintayin na kami po yung pupunta sa inyo.
And the ongoing inventory of informal settlers. Environment Undersecretary Sherwin Rigor and Interior and Local Government Spokesperson Jonathan Malaya join us live. And later, are you still not over your ex? How about naming a cockroach after them? That's for today's In Focus. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. A stricter implementation of the no swimming order is in place in Manila Bay, and the Environment Department plans to fence off parts of Manila Bay seawall. Our correspondent Carolyn Bonkin gives us an update on the ongoing Manila Bay Rehabilitation.
Rescuers saved this 11-year-old girl from drowning while taking a dip in Manila Bay. Hospital staff had administered timely aid to remove dirty water she ingested from the bay. She is now stable and on antibiotics as she still has fever. Her mother says she has prohibited her daughter from swimming, but the child still played in the water with friends.
Hindi ko naman po sinasabi na pasara yun. Lagyan na lang ng warning po kasi kahit ang bantay po, hindi nila masupil yung mga kabataan.
By Wednesday, Manila Bay is almost empty, save for some volunteers and MMDA personnel picking up trash and passerbys taking photos. Workers install no swimming signages and barriers, while police are on patrol to shoo away those defying the swimming ban. Within the next few days, the Environment Department will put up a 1.5-kilometer fence near the seawall from the Manila Yacht Club to the U.S. Embassy.
Baywalk will be open. Makikita pa rin, mababa lang naman yung fence, mga 4 feet siguro lang.
Sa baba yun.
Makikita yung makikita pa rin yung sunset, makikita pa rin yung dagat. Hindi ka lang pwede makapasok.
Within February, the Public Works Department will begin scooping 4 decades worth of waste below the bay. Officials estimate the dump is 3 meters deep. They add removing the silt would take around 3 years.
Hahabulin po namin yung tamang lalim po at ang goal po namin, una, ma-expose po yung beach materials, yung natural beach materials, yung sand po. At pangalawa po, sa pamamagitan din po ng pagtatanggal na yan, hopefully it will contribute dun sa improvement ng water quality.
Meanwhile, amid calls to declare Manila Bay reclamation-free, Environment Secretary Roy Cimatu says there are no new reclamation projects. And should there be conflict with any reclamation project, his department will see to it that it will not cause further deterioration of Manila Bay. Carolyn Bonkin, CNN Philippines.
Let's go straight to the source of the story. Interior and Local Government Spokesperson Jonathan Malaya. Asik, good to see you again.
Good morning.
Welcome
Thanks for inviting
show.
me again.
Glad to have you. So the Manila Bay, something, you were telling me prior to going on air, people are excited to see it better than it used to be. Hence, nagsiswimming ang mga tao.
That's right. Well, I think the news that Manila Bay is cleaner, but not really safe for swimming has spread out like wildfire. So people are trying it out. So they're making it into a place where they can bathe and have some sports and recreation activities, which unfortunately cannot be allowed because of the average coliform level across the bay.
And the coliform level is still, I believe, in the millions. But there's so many agencies involved in the cleanup of Manila Bay. What exactly is the role of the DILG?
Well, we're part of the Mandamos agencies. That's the first one. The Supreme Court, way back in 2008, issued a directive to all government agencies to continue. It's a continuing Mandamos to ensure that we continuously clean up the bay. The role of the DILG really is to ensure that the LGUs, which supposedly are at the forefront of implementing environmental laws, should be made accountable, number one, and number two, should implement the law because the national government has the entire nation to worry about. The LGUs have a specific area of responsibility, so they should be at the forefront. Unfortunately, we have not seen that kind of commitment from them for a long time.
How many LGUs are we talking about when the coverage is Manila Bay?
That's more than 100 LGUs, because we're
Involved?
Yes, because we're talking about when we talk about the Manila Bay area, we're talking about an entire watershed, because around several rivers empty into the Manila Bay,
Right.
including Pasig, Marikina, Songwan, Parañaque, Zapotes, Las Piñas, Navotas, Malabon, Tullahan, Tinajeros, and all of those. Now, in terms of the number of LGUs, that's 178 LGUs, which is in National Capital Region, Region 3, and Region 4. So it's really a large area. And all of these LGUs will have to do their part if we want to really clean up Manila Bay.
So for those who may be saying, sandali, parang ang layo na nitong LGU na to sa Manila Bay, it's because there are tributaries, bodies of
Yes.
water that eventually end up in the Manila Bay from that particular LGU.
That's right.
It
So-
doesn't necessarily mean they're in the coastline of the Manila Bay.
Yes. For example, provinces of Pampanga, many of their rivers flow into the Manila Bay.
Yeah.
Because parts of, if you look at the Manila Bay map, you'll see that Pampanga is there, parts of Bulacan are there, parts of Bataan. So all of these provinces also have a role to play if we want to preserve and ensure that Manila Bay is safe for swimming, which is what the Supreme Court directed us to do.
The Supreme Court directed the government to do this in 2008, was
Yes,
it? And
in 2008.
how is your assessment on what government has done so far? Have we failed? Is that the obvious?
In 2008, there wasn't really any political will on the part of government to get this done. It's only now. I think we saw what was possible with Boracay, and it was a success. And then we warned Panglao, El Nido, and Coron, and the mayors in these areas, rather than risk the takeover of the national government, were the ones who, by themselves, started to clean up their places. So we saw it in Coron. They were cleaning up the easements, informal settlers. So it was a success then. And then the president directed us to work on Manila Bay. That's why we have this massive effort now to get this done.
So it was it? Would you characterize it as a failure since 2008?
In a sense, yes, but it cannot be considered a complete failure, because what was good about it is the Supreme Court's mandamus required us to prepare a plan. So we now have the Manila Bay Coastal Strategy and Operation Plan. So as soon as the president said, work on Manila Bay, we had a plan in place.
When was the plan in place? Since when?
This was part of the mandamus. So the DENR worked with the JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, and a plan was put in place. And that plan is now being vigorously implemented now.
So there was a plan, it was just not implemented
As is expected in many government work.
until, sir, January 27, I believe, when the cleanup began, possibly around that time.
Yes.
Or possibly when the President, Rodrigo Duterte, ordered the rehabilitation of Manila Bay. So there was a plan in place. I guess if this plan was done many years ago, would that have changed to the needs of Manila Bay and the residents years later in 2019?
Yes, if the plan was implemented, plans are plans and implementation is a different matter. So if the plans were implemented, there would have been dramatic change. No, but you see, it's really a lot of government. We saw it, for example, in Aristocrat Restaurant. No, they were compliant when they started operations. No, but as time went on, we somehow accepted that Aristocrat is a established establishment there. They're probably following the law, and then we found out that they weren't. So it takes a little bit of digging. We have to dig and dig. So we found out that GSIS wasn't compliant. We found out that even the Manila Zoo wasn't compliant. So it really was a tremendous responsibility.
If we were to talk about the number of establishments that have not been compliant, what's the number now? Because they came in trickles, I guess because of the inspection of the establishments and industries. Do you have a number to share with us now?
I don't know if the DENR,
It's going to come from the DENR.
They use Sherwin because they're the ones in charge of inspection. So what they do is they have a team, and they also work with the LGUs. They visit every every establishment
Yeah.
and check if their drain goes out to the Manila Bay.
And I guess also the Laguna Lake Development Authority also.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So what the role of the DILG, because I guess as I mentioned, this is a number of agencies together, working together, is really on what? The informal settlers, ASEC?
Also informal settlers.
So the LGUs and the informal settlers.
Yes, and in relation to this, I'd like to make this announcement in your show. We just issued yesterday show cause orders against 108 LGUs across the country for failing to prepare and implement their 10-year solid waste management plan. So based on our records, they have not made their plans and implemented it. So we gave them 10 days to respond to a show cause order. If we find that they were negligent, again, we will go to the Ombudsman. And this is the first time that the DILG is doing that.
Asa, can you tell us exactly what their violation is not following the Solid Waste Management Act? Ano ba yung kanilang
Yes.
ginagawa, itong 108 na LGUs? What are they guilty of?
They didn't prepare and they didn't submit their solid waste management plan. So these 108 LGUs from Luzon to Mindanao were found to be negligent, no? But of course, we have to give them due process. We will have to ask them first why, and if indeed they did not submit, and if we find that their explanations are insufficient, then we will have no recourse but to file the appropriate cases in the Office of the Ombudsman.
Are you talking about, well, the whole Philippines
Yes.
now? Because
Yes.
you said Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao.
Yes.
So 108, this is, I thought this was in relation to the 178 LGUs
No,
around Manila
no,
Bay.
it's
So
not.
this is the whole Philippines. So you just did not concentrate now on Manila
Yes.
Bay, but you're concentrating on the whole country. We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guests today, Environment Undersecretary Sherwin Rigor and still Interior and Local Government Spokesperson Jonathan Malaya. Yusek Rigor and ASEC Malaya, welcome to the show. So again, I just want to say this is first on CNN Philippines that the ASEC was telling us that 108 LGUs have been given a show cause order with regards to their Solid Waste Management Act. In other words, they did not submit a plan to the DILG
And to the Commission.
and to the Commission, the Solid Waste Management Commission,
Yes.
on how to, well, deal with their solid waste problems in their respective LGUs. We were talking about establishments. We just had USEC a couple of, about a week ago. Ilan na ho ba yung establishments that have been given notices? Dumami na ho ba ito?
dumami.
Okay, nasa na tayo, USEC?
Sa ngayon, as of yesterday, we have issued 8 CDO, cease and desist order, and then 4 na ex parte, meaning blatant violation yan, even without their saying us. Tapos, third is the 341 establishment issued notice of violation. So, before to reach the DILG and the LGUs, that will be after the CDO.
Kayo muna. Sir, can you
muna.
explain ano ang CDO, ang cease and desist order, ano ang ex parte, at ano ang notice of violation?
Okay, sige. The CDO,
Ano ho bang pinakamalala sa kanila?
the CDO,
Okay, so cease and desist, ibig sabihin, stop operations.
stop the discharge plus yung the use of your water, puputulin yon. And then that's part of the violation because you will not be having the certificate or permit to discharge.
So you can't operate, right? Kasi where will you discharge?
Pupunta naman ngayon sa LGU yan kasi it's one of the requirement for the operation of your business dun sa mayor's permit, business permit.
But does it mean, you said, when you issue a CDO, stop operation sila automatic? The day you issue the CDO,
Well, it depends upon them. If they will operate, they will be receiving penalty from us. Kasi we will be checking on them. If they operate, they will be liable for penalty.
then what is the penalty?
That's between 10,000 to 200,000 per day.
10,000 to 200,000 pesos per day,
day.
depending on the how big the establishment is,
Yes,
sir?
depending.
Okay, so ang ex parte, you said 4.
The ex parte is you will be issued with an ex parte and you have no more time to to answer us back because it is really evident na ikaw nagdi-discharge ka talaga na wala kang lahat na, wala kang STP, wala kang lahat.
So,
wala kang intervention.
Blatant violation ito, sir.
Exactly, oo.
Okay. And then the notice of violation.
Notice of violation is of course sometimes kulang ka na intervention, kailangan mo na-upgrade yung STP mo.
May pagkukulang ka ng konti.
Yeah, exactly.
May pagkukulang ka na pwedeng ayusin.
You'll be given few days kaya may notice of violation ka. Pero of course, didiretso na kagad yun sa CDO.
Yusek, can you tell us give us a sense on how difficult or how easy it is to find out the violations, whether big or small, of
Okay.
establishments?
Sa isang establishment, you have a building or establishment there, no? So, the-trace namin saan lumalabas yung tubig mo kasi you cannot contain the water inside your establishment. You need to discharge it.
Kailangan mo siya ilabas eh.
Sa hanapin namin ngayon yung nearest kitchen mo, yung nearest CR mo, and then lalabas at lalabas yon. I-check namin kung nasan yung septic vault mo or septic tank. From there, makikita mo na through ocular inspection if there are STPs, interventions, or any devices that produces treated discharge water. Yan. Tapos, hindi pa yon. Check ngayon namin saan drainage siya lalabas, saan estero siya
Hirap
lalabas.
naman nun, sir. Hindi ba?
May dye pa nga silang ilinalagay.
Yes.
Para makita nyo kung saan yung flow ng tubig.
Yes,
I see.
we have
Yes,
now
kasi naghahalo-halo kasi yan eh.
We have technology. The dye is one.
Yeah.
Second, of course, yung may maliit na flexible na
Pinapasok.
pinapasok.
Parang tube.
Exactly. Parang camera.
You have those, sir.
Colonoscopy.
Parang gano'n, oo.
And then, the third one is what we use in Boracay. Yun yung ground penetrating
I know
radar.
that, sir. Yung parang X-ray.
Exactly.
Yung parang ultrasound din yun.
So sila, hindi sila lulusot na that will be our evidences. They can refute our findings, pero the testing will not...
Who's taking the lead in doing that, sir, sa DENR?
LLDA and EMB.
Okay. Management Bureau, Environment
Yes,
Management
Environment
Bureau.
Bureau.
Silang dalawa, sir.
Yes,
And how many doon muna tayo sa establishments, sir. Kasi
Correct.
you're talking about the 8, 4, and 341
Yes,
establishments pa
yes.
lang to. How many establishments are you inspecting?
More or less, we're looking with a total saturation targeting 40,000.
Establishments?
Stop. The whole NCR.
And how many have been inspected?
Well,
Even just a percentage, sir?
maybe it's around 5%.
Kulang sa tao, sir.
We,
Yeah.
LLD and EMB, have now created 16 teams.
1/6.
1/6. And then they need to have an average inspection of 5 to 10 per day.
Each team.
Each team.
So we're looking at hopefully 160.
A day.
Sir, we'll clarify the 40,000. Ang sinabi niyo po, 40,000 establishments. Does that include industries or just establishments, sir?
That includes everything.
Okay. Establishments and industries.
Industries, yeah.
Pero hindi po yung mga nakatira, yung mga settlers. O kasama na rin yun?
Hindi sila kasama.
Iba yun. So ito yung mga businesses.
Businesses, correct.
So 40,000, so maybe you're looking at a 5. How much longer are they going to finish this, sir? I mean, it's not an easy thing, I'm sure.
But we do it day after day, day after day. We cannot put up 50 teams maybe by next month. We'll see if we can augment coming from our own budget. Because right now, all Mandamos agency are operating within their own budget. Kasi the fund or the proposed budget, wala pa.
Wala pa eh. Yeah, no, sir?
Yeah.
ASEC?
Kahit sila.
Wala pa rin.
Actually, nakikita namin yung hirap ng DENR dito. Because kasama din kami. Kung minsan sumasama din kami sa mga inspections nila. No? But I think one way to expedite all of these is to get the LGUs to start the work without the DENR. Because the LGUs are also authorized under their own processes. They issue occupancy permits.
Correct.
They issue business permits.
Sa lahat
They
naman
issue
ng permit sa kanila nang gagaling eh.
Yes.
So why don't you why isn't the DILG ordering them to do are they?
We already started. First, we had a dialogue, last week with the Metro Manila Council. All of the mayors were there, and the secretary encouraged them to start working on doing inspections on their own, so that when the DNR comes in, more or less, something has been done already. Or if they have closed the establishment, and then they can skip it. Tapos na si LGU eh.
So have they been doing that?
We're, again, remember, it's a very tricky situation insofar as LGU is concerned because they have local autonomy. What we do is we exercise general supervision over them. We cannot really order them around.
The DILG cannot do that.
We can issue a memorandum circular, no? But you know, when we deal with mayors, with local government officials, no, these are elective public officials. They are not
Appointed.
They are not appointed. They are not arms of the DILG. We consider them as our partners, no? So it's if they do not do their job, we file cases against them. But in the meantime, we encourage them. So that's what we told them during the meeting of the Metro Manila Council. Let's be proactive here. We can start resettling informal settler families without waiting for the Manila Bay Rehab program.
Yes.
You can start inspecting establishments without waiting for the DENR, so that we get to work
hopefully they're
together.
doing that. You know, sir, hopefully they are doing that because indeed, sakop nila yung mga establishments na yon. Sila din naman ang nagbibigay ng lahat ng mga permit. Sila din naman ang kumikita sa lahat ng mga permit, hindi ba? So that responsibility they should take, if not a lot, full responsibility for the establishments in their respective localities.
That's right. And for example, in Parañaque, they've started resettling some of their informal settler families from Parañaque. All of these LGUs, they have their own housing boards. They have their own housing programs, whether in city or provincial. So they can be a big help in getting the job done. If we have their full cooperation, we'll be able to finish this earlier than we expect.
Okay, so let's talk about what happened, Yusek and ASIC. Actually, I spoke to ASIC Malaya about this. January 27 was the cleanup drive. Days after, nalinis yung Manila Bay. But in fact, ang kinukuha lang, Yusek, yung mga garbage na nakikita, cleaning up the Manila Bay. People started swimming. Because they felt that malinis na. Siguro wala nang basura, kaya naging very open to swimming. Now it's a no-swim zone.
Yes.
So the plan is what? According to the Secretary, to build a fence, sir?
Yes, to build a temporary fence along the Bay Walk, parallel to the Bay Walk. So as to prevent people coming in muna, because we're starting the cleanup and rehabilitation. The first part of the cleanup rehabilitation, of course, is the removing of all the solid waste on top of it. And for the first time, we saw sand and beach. So when people saw that sand, wow, it's a beach now. Beachfront pala.
Kita na ba yung sand, sir?
Oo.
Okay.
It's a 200-meter sand.
Yeah.
So nag-swimming yung tao. But they do not realize that it's still hundreds of millions of coliform on that waters. And simultaneously, we are also cleaning up from the downstream to the upstream.
We talked about that the last time. You're concentrated on an area which is around the U.S. Embassy.
Yes, correct.
Dun muna, then according to the USEC, paakyat pa ganon. Downstream to upstream. Dito muna sila mag-uumpisa, may core palabas. But did you expect that, sir, ASEC, na paglinis pa lang?
Hindi.
Surprise kami. Kasi after those information that is 330 million, siyempre tao sasabihin, marami pala yan, why would I dive? And when they saw the beach, siguro na-excite.
Yeah.
They saw the first sign of sand. Meron pala.
Yeah. But it's brown, no?
It's dark.
Okay, let's talk about siguro just also to give an update on the coliform level, because it's hard to understand it when you're talking about millions and millions of coliform. Sir, this is a good, siguro, point to start with.
Yes.
If we look at December 31, is that 31?
Yes, it's 20, December 20.
20, rather.
As of December 20, we have 3 outfall from Manila Yacht Club to U.S. Embassy. The first outfall is near the U.S. Embassy. We call that Salas, outfall number 1. The average ambient, meaning this is the average for the whole year, it's 330 million.
For the whole year?
For the whole year. And right now, last January 4, when we tested it, February 4, tama? January 4, it's 54 million.
54, sir. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And when we tested again by
January 28.
January
28,
28.
it's at
yes.
7.9. Sir, could you explain that to me more? Sabi niyo po 330 million
Yes.
in 1 year? Did you say 1 year,
That's
sir?
average of 1 year, meaning may time na malaki yan
Opo.
is because of summer,
Got it.
holidays.
So,
and then-
paano naging 54 million on January 4, 2019 and then January 7.9 in January 28,
Well, nagkaroon ng
2019?
less discharges of the area of the community, meaning during our start of warning establishment, maybe they turned on all of their STPs.
Got it, sir. But my point is, how could you have given us a number as such when you were talking about an average per year? Because if it's an average per year of 330 million in December 20, 14 days later, 2 weeks later, meron na kayong 54 million. Ano yan? How did you come up with that number?
We tested the sampling on the same station that we tested.
Got it. Okay. So, ganun po yun. And then,
Yes.
7.9 million, marami pa rin yun.
Marami pa rin po. The normal is 200.
Okay. Let's repeat that. ASEC, USEC, the normal is 200.
200, correct.
We are still at 7.9 million.
On just one outfall.
Okay.
When I saw the figures of DNR for the Estero Antonio de Abad,
Antonio de Abad.
Which one is that? Is that
That's near Yacht Club.
okay.
One of the billionaire outfall.
Billionaire?
That's 1.3 billion
Ito yun.
before.
Yung Remedios, ito ba yan, Remedios?
Yung sa Abad, that's Abad San.
Oh, Abad. It's
Abad
330
Santos.
million also.
Those were average.
Yeah.
Pero yung yung record niya is 1.3 billion.
Yun yung sinabing you belong to the billionaires
Billionaires,
club.
yeah. So billionaire lane.
Yeah, correct.
Gentlemen, maraming salamat po sa inyo. And as mentioned, we will continue to monitor this story. We will have them again, possibly in a month or so, because also we want to talk about the informal settlers that finally are we really going to see them out of the area where they are not supposed to be staying. So, thank you, ASEC.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Rigor,
Thank you very
maraming
much.
salamat din po sa inyo. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Coming up, want to teach your ex-lover a lesson? Name a cockroach after them? That's for today's In Focus.